I could not think of a clearer example of Trump's overt criminality and corruption than what he just posted online. Remember, just days ago, he pardoned Democratic lawmaker Henry Cuellar from Texas, hoping clearly for something in return, namely Cuellar's switch from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. Cuellar didn't grant Trump his wish, prompting this outburst from the president. Quote, "Can you imagine the Democrats under the crooked Joe Biden administration, who always use the extreme force and jail time to destroy their political opponent, wanted to put Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife, Imelda, in prison for 15 years, which I predicted these radical left lunatics would do, and they never stopped wanting to fulfill this evil quest. The Dems mercilessly went after Henry with everything they had. They were looking to destroy him, his lovely wife, his 2 young daughters, and anyone close to them. When the Democrats overwhelmingly lost the 2024 presidential election, and power with it, they, regardless, did everything they could to keep going after the Cuellar family. These Dems were vicious, and all because Henry strongly wanted, correctly, border security. He was against illegals pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. The congressman didn't want gang members, drug dealers, violent prisoners, people from mental institutions, and yes, even murderers in the good old USA. It was all very unfair what they were doing to him and his family, so much so that his daughters wrote me a beautiful letter about their parents, just posted on Truth. After reading it, I decided, in the interest of justice and based on the daughters' loving request, that I would give Henry and Imelda a full and complete pardon. I never spoke to the congressman, his wife, or his daughters, but felt very good about fighting for a family that was tormented by very sick and deranged people. They were treated so badly. I signed the papers and said to people in the Oval Office that I just did a very good, perhaps life-saving thing. God was very happy with me that day. Then it happened. Only a short time after signing the pardon, Congressman Henry Cuellar announced that he will be running for Congress again in the great state of Texas, a state where I received the highest number of votes ever recorded as a Democrat, continuing to work with the same radical left scum that just weeks before wanted him and his wife to spend the rest of their lives in prison, and probably still do. Such a lack of loyalty, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. President Donald J. Trump. In other words, Trump is mad because he views his pardon as transactional and expected the quo from his quid pro quo. And he is so shameless about his overt corruption that far from just doing it and then quietly stewing that his plan didn't work, he is throwing a public temper tantrum that he wasn't able to abuse the pardon power to consolidate more power for himself. And he's not even trying to hide it. Trump said Cuellar would continue to work with the same radical left scum that just weeks before wanted him and his wife to spend the rest of their lives in prison, and probably still do. The subtext here is pretty clear. I saved you from prison, so you owe me one. You owe me your political allegiance. You owe me a party switch. You owe me a house seat. And when you don't deliver, well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. It is protection racket politics, mob boss behavior dressed up as executive power. Cuellar was asked about this screed. Here's what he had to say.
Have you considered switching parties?
Look, I'm a Democrat. I'm probably one of the most, if not the most, bipartisan Democrat. And as I told some of my Republican friends on the House floor, I vote better than some of the Republicans in the Republican caucus, and they agree with me. I just feel that, you know, I follow the words of President LBJ, where he said many years ago, I'm an American, I'm a Texan, and I'm a Democrat, in that order. And I think anybody that puts party before their country is doing a disservice to their country.
Okay, but President Trump is out with a new Truth Social today on your decision to run again as a Democrat, and the president is saying, oh, well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. He's talking about the fact that you are going to continue to work with the same radical left Democrats. What do you want to say about the president's Truth Social this morning?
Well, again, let me just say this. I was at church this morning with my wife. I prayed for the president. I prayed for his family. And I prayed for the presidency, because if the president succeeds, the country succeeds. And again, as probably the most bipartisan individual, I don't vote party. I vote for what's right for the country. And in fact, you know, when I got that rate by the Biden administration, they did it 40 days before a primary, where the far left had spent were spending total about $20 million that we know of on that. So they did this right before that. So again, I am a conservative Democrat, but I will work with the president. I've reached out to his administration. I've told them, you know, name the folks, you know, Tom Homan, Christie other folks that say, hey, can we sit down? I'd love to sit down and see where we can find common ground. I sit on defense appropriations. I sit on homeland appropriations. And if I can work and find common ground, then I certainly want to do that.
Even Maria Bartiromo is trying to do Donald Trump's bidding, channeling his disgust at the fact that Cuellar wouldn't return the apparent favor that he was done by Trump by rewarding him with a party switch. Neither of these people can fathom someone in government putting loyalty to their own values or beliefs above servile fealty to Donald Trump. And look, it's pretty clear that I am not politically aligned with Henry Cuellar, but I can still recognize and appreciate the fact that he is not looking at what Donald Trump did and saying, okay, now I owe my entire political ideology to this one man. And all of this came about as Cuellar faced a dozen charges of bribery, money laundering, and conspiracy, with prosecutors alleging he accepted nearly $600,000 in bribes from two foreign entities, specifically from Azerbaijan and a Mexican commercial bank. And these weren't minor allegations. And yet Trump pardoned him, claiming it was because Biden's DOJ had weaponized the justice system against Cuellar for speaking out on immigration. But in that same screed, the truth then came out. He couldn't even keep up the con long enough to get through one single Truth Social post. He claims on one hand that he's doing this because it was the right thing to do and God shone his light on him, and then in that same post complains that Henry Cuellar wouldn't then switch his party allegiance from Democrat to Republican. This wasn't about justice. This wasn't about protecting someone from a weaponized DOJ. It was about expecting something in return. It was about consolidating power for himself. And look, this is far from the first time Donald Trump has done this. On his first day back in office, he issued blanket clemency to nearly 1,600 people convicted of or awaiting trial for January 6 related offenses. Let me repeat that number, 1,600 people. More than 600 of them have been convicted for assaulting or obstructing law enforcement officers, and 170 had used deadly weapons. These weren't peaceful protesters, they were people who violently attacked our Capitol. But it gets worse. In November, Trump then pardoned 77 of his allies involved in the fake elector scheme, people like Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell, John Eastman, Kenneth Chesebro. These are the people who orchestrated the attempt to overturn the 2020 election. And Trump gave them all a free pass, effectively making it clear that he is legalizing any effort to help Republicans obstruct elections, undermine the results, and stay in office. Trump also pardoned a Florida businessman convicted of tax evasion after his mother attended a $1 million per plate fundraising dinner at Mar-a-Lago. 3 weeks after that dinner, the pardon came through. So if you're keeping track at home, the price of a Trump pardon is apparently $1 million or a willingness to kiss the ring. And the list goes on and on. What this is corruption, plain and simple. Trump is using the pardon power, one of the most sacred powers granted to the president, as a tool to reward loyalists, punish enemies, and consolidate his own power. He is building a permission structure where if you're loyal to Trump, you're above the law. And if you betray Trump, even after he pardons you, by not granting him the party switch that he expects, well, you better watch out because next time there's no more Mr. Nice Guy. The shamelessness here is staggering. Trump isn't even pretending that these pardons are about justice or mercy or correcting wrongs in the system. He is openly admitting that they are transactional. He is openly admitting that he expects something in return. And when he doesn't get what he expects, he lashes out like a mob boss who didn't get his cut. This isn't a justice system, it is a loyalty system. And Trump just told us exactly how it works with his tirade against Henry Cuellar. The pardon wasn't about protecting Cuellar from an unjust prosecution. It was about expecting Cuellar to switch parties and deliver Trump another House seat. And when Cuellar didn't play ball, Trump showed his whole hand. So the next time Trump issues a pardon, do not let him get away with this pretense that it's about justice. Don't let him claim that he's fighting against a weaponized DOJ, because Trump just told us what this is really about: loyalty, power, control. And if you cross him, there will be consequences. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.